What you were looking at is the Versatility V3 Controller by Broadened Horizons. This controller allows you to play virtually any video game system with a variety of switches and inputs, accessible for any level of abilities. It connects through these ports on the back to any video gaming system, including the Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, or the Wii. The design for Broadened Horizons Versatility V3 Controller is based on this, the Sony PlayStation controller. As you can see, on Sony's controller, the analog joysticks, right and left, are there. The digital pad is there, moving down, right, up, and left. There are also buttons like X, circle, triangle, square, start, select, and menu. On the back there are trigger buttons. This is the R1 button. This is the R2 button. This is the L1 button, and this is the L2 button. When designing the Versatility V3 controller, we actually mirrored the same inputs. The X button here is the X input there. The right analog joystick here has a right analog joystick input there, and so on and so forth. Using the Versatility V3 with the Xbox 360 controller is just as easy. We've even labeled some of the buttons for you. The A button here maps to the A input there. The B button here maps to the B input there, as well as your other standard controls. Right analog with your right analog, left analog with your left analog, and the digital pad with the digital pad inputs. Also, the trigger buttons on the back as well. Now, the only difference with the Xbox 360 controller and the Versatility V3 is the positioning. It functions exactly the same. When using the Versatility V3 with the Wii or Wii U console, the first thing you must make sure of is that the game is Battle Joystick compatible. The Battle Joystick normally plugs into the back of the Wii controller like so. When you're plugging the Versatility system into the Wii console, you're going to use our Wii adapter. When you plug in the Wii adapter into the back of the Wiimote and the other part of the adapter into our gaming console converter, you will then be using the Versatility V3 as your battle joystick. If your Versatility V3 system has 3 cords coming out of the back of it, you have internally integrated sip and puff switches. What this means is that you have 3 built-in switches in your Versatility V3 controller. You have a latching puff switch, a puff switch, and a sip switch. If you are not able to use standard sip and puff controls, you can use the latching puff and the puff with one of our bite switches. We use DB25 technology to connect your game controller to the Versatility V3. In order to plug your game console, you need an integrated handheld controller with one of these DB25 cables. The female end of the DB25 cable plugs into the male end of the DB25 port on your Versatility, like so. Connecting your Versatility V3 to the Xbox 360 game console is quite simple, however it does take a few parts. The first thing you need to do is make sure that your integrated handheld controller is connected properly to the Versatility via the DB25 cable. Once that's connected, you want to then connect what's called the PS2 port on your integrated handheld controller that's the black port, into the 4-in-1 console converter. Now you want to make sure your console converter is set to 360 mode. If it has a switch on the side, you want to switch it to 360. If it doesn't have a switch, it has the automatic technology to recognize your Xbox 360 once it's turned on. The final part that you'll need is a standard Xbox 360 wired controller, like this one. Usually we'll provide this for you in your kit. The USB cable then plugs in to the 4-in-1 converter using the female USB adapter. Now the final piece on your 4-in-1 converter is what plugs into the console. That male USB port that's left on your 4-in-1 converter plugs right into the front of your Xbox 360. This is the switch-adapted Nintendo Wiimote and the switch-adapted Nintendo Nunchuck. These two items work together when using the Wii or the Wii U gaming systems. You can plug your standard switches, sip and puff switches, or other activation devices into these standard inputs. In order to use the Nintendo Nunchuck, you need to connect it to your Wiimote using the port on the bottom of the Wiimote. That will send power to the Nunchuck and to the switches that you're plugging in. When using the Nintendo Nunchuck, you don't need a lot of movement in order to play Wii games. A little bit of movement using a chin or an active digit will move your character on the screen to walk, run, jump, or swim. Byte switches come in 3 different sizes: small, medium, and large. Depending on the strength, speed of the byte, and the size of the tube on which you're biting, it's going to activate either the standard single puff switch or the latching puff. Biting down on one of these will send a short burst of air to the switches in the unit. This is the pneumatic byte switch. Unlike the air pressure byte switch, it doesn't require an active sip and puff. The switch is built into the system itself. The red portion can be bitten down upon by the teeth, and that will activate an immediate response to whatever button you're looking to choose. What you are looking at is the one-of-a-kind Broadened Horizons 2-gram light touch switch. This switch requires the least amount of activation for a specific pressure switch, meaning that you can just touch your finger lightly over the top and it will activate. Even the slightest movement will be able to activate, and it also gives you an audible response letting you know that you've activated your switch. What you see here is our single and dual push button switches. These are simple switches that are basically just like their name sounds, they're push buttons. They're roughneck push buttons that can be used pretty much anywhere. Many people use them under a pillow, by their headrest, or to activate with their chin or their mouth. What you're looking at is the dual muscle sensor switches. These are ultra-sensitive, light touch switches that can be activated with a muscle movement, a twitch, or a touch. The dual muscle sensor switches come with 2 sensors. Both rectangular and circular sensors will be included, and 2 dual-sided outputs. It also comes with surgical style tape and a headband to activate using your eyebrow movements. The dual muscle sensor switch can be set to either momentary or latching. It's almost like holding down a button for an extended period of time simply by making one slight movement. Great for racing games, and other shooting games where you need to hold down a button for long periods of time. To operate, simply place the 3.5mm jack inputs where it says sensors into the sensor. Then place the dual-sided 3.5mm jack into the portion up top where it says devices. The other side can go into your input in your Versatility, Wiimote, nunchuck, or other input device. What you are looking at is the Versatility tactical mouth joystick. This mouth joystick consists of two parts, the analog joysticks and the dual push button switches. The analog joysticks can easily be moved with a mouth, chin, or lips. It requires little to no head movement at all. Below the two analog joysticks to move your character around the screen are dual push buttons. Those dual push buttons can be plugged into any location on a Wii, nunchuck, or Versatility input controller. So basically, those buttons can be used to control any function in the game that you desire. Hi, my name is Jay Escobar and I'm the Operations Manager here at Broadened Horizons Incorporated. I wanted to talk to you for a second about the Versatility Controller and our whole line of gaming interfaces and accessories. Now, we made these units to be modular, upgradable, and most importantly, 100% customizable. Now, even though we showed you an example here of the tactical mouth joystick, that may not be the way that your child prefers to play their games. There may be any variety of combination of switches, joysticks, and interfaces in any variety of positions that they want to use their controller. That's the way that we designed it. Now, myself, as the parent of a disabled child, I can understand the frustration in trying to learn new technology and also to teach that new technology. So we want to work together with you to make it as easy as possible. I want you to feel free to call our staff anytime for questions that you have, concerns that you have, and so that we might help you to get the products that you need to help your child get the most of their gaming experience. Mike is now using the Wii controls by Broadened Horizons. On the hat, he has the Wiimote, which is guiding that little finger that's on the screen with only the slightest of head movement. Now, if you have no head movement, don't worry, because not all of the games are going to require that Wiimote to move around like that. If you do have even the slightest amount of head movement, you'll be able to ease your way through the menus on the Wii. Mike is going to select Super Mario Bros. Wii and activate it using the Versatility Tactical Controller on his chin. Now, the Versatility Tactical Controller, since it's simply an output device, can be used for any of our gaming systems. Now, with the nunchuck properly positioned in front of his mouth, using only his mouth to move the controller, Mike is able to move the character on the screen. Now in the actual gameplay, just using his mouth with the joystick, nunchuck, and the tactical controller, Mike is able to achieve gameplay. This configuration is good for pretty much any game that uses the nunchuck. Mike is now using the Versatility tactical mouth joystick to control his game system. With no head movement at all, only using his mouth and his chin, he's able to control the main movements of his character on the screen. Using the eyebrows headband with the dual muscle sensor switch, he's able to hold down the gas pedal with just a flick of his eyebrow. One of the great things about this, the tactical mouth joystick, is that the parts are not fixed. If you want, for either convenience or for comfort, to change the configuration of your mouth joystick, both the joysticks and the buttons are easily removable. And you can replace them with this plate with any of the other interface devices that we make. One of the innovations that we've recently made is the head motion tracking joystick. This little box, along with this headband, can track even the slightest movement of your child's head to map to either the left or the right analog controller on your joystick. We think that this is an ideal solution for people who have slight head movement or who prefer to play games that require both a left and a right analog joystick movement at the same time. I hope that this video was both informational and instructional. It gives you a little bit of insight into both how we designed our interfaces and how they might work for you. Again, if you have any questions or concerns, feel free to give us a call anytime. Thanks.